Hi, I'm Megan.
I'm Selena.
Welcome to One Hen, Two Ducks.
A grown-up theater kids podcast.
Today we are talking about
Something rotten!
yes! We are reviewing the musical Something Rotten and kind of doing it like we do our off book where we kind of dive into it a little bit as well of the creators and a little bit of the story and the actors and whatnot. So without further ado, Something Rotten opened for previews at the St. James Theater March 23rd, 2015, and opened officially on Broadway April 2nd, and closed in 2017 with 742 performances.
Woo!
Go Something Rotten. Interesting thing about Something Rotten, they did not have an out-of-town tryout. So they were supposed to do an out-of-town tryout in Seattle. Most shows, before they move to Broadway, they have an out-of-town tryout, so that way they can kind of test the audience and see what they're vibing with and what responds well and what's working and what's not, because sometimes you don't know that until you get in front of an audience. And they had said they were going to do it at the Seattle Fifth Avenue Theater, and I think they had done a workshop there. They had done a workshop in 2014 there, and they had got such great responses from the audience. And then all of a sudden, the St. James Theater opened up probably a good year before they were ready to go to Broadway. But they're like, let's just do it. Let's just go to Broadway. So they had no out-of-town tryout, and it was just trial by fire in the previews of this show. So spoilers, if you haven't seen Something Rotten and you really want to and you're waiting
alert!
to find out, this is the spoiler alert. Selena, will you tell us and our audience a little more about what this show is about?
So, I had the pleasure of viewing this show for the very first time recently. I actually went in not knowing anything at all. I didn't hear the music. I didn't even know the plot. I didn't know anything. I just knew Megan was like, you got to watch Something Rotten. I'm like, okay, whatever this is. So I had no idea going in. Basically, Something Rotten is set in the Renaissance time during the amazing reign, of course, of William Shakespeare. And I love it because one of the opening songs brings up the fact that no one thinks about any other writers around that time, specifically in the creative sense, and playwrights and poets and all that. And who could compete? And immediately I was like, oh my gosh, this is a great premise. Like, who could compete? And who this poor guy who's like, I'm a writer too. And I'm important too. And so, they this writer who's really trying to set his own, get his own fame and be known for his own work, is really trying to compete with one of the greatest heavy hitters of all time when it comes to the entertainment industry, or specifically plays. And so he, of course, goes and sees this foreseer who then gives them just a hint of the future. And it's so funny because a lot of us are thinking when we're watching it is, okay, this guy's going to, crock. He's not going to even give them anything, but he shows them a musical. And from there, he has his show. And then you have all this, you have so much going on though. But the main focus of this show is being true to yourself. They mention that at towards the end and all that, but it comes down to being true to yourself and being okay with who you are and celebrate who you are and not have to always compete. Mm-hmm. Because I love that they did this, which actually made me question, so I don't even know if it's true, but really spoiler alert. They made Will Shakespeare a kind of a jerk who stole a lot of his stuff from the main character's brother. And what I love about that is that though he has all these beautiful works and that line of being true to thyself, it's not even his, right? And he's over here, trying to compete as well. But I love that the one who was true to himself found true success. More than just, okay, I'm known and I'll be known forever, but they found success in here. Because I felt like what happened at the end with Shakespeare is that he never found that inner peace. He was constantly, and I know, and he has this song, and I really, really grappled with that song too. This is so hard. Writing is so hard. Why is it so hard? And you do go crazy where you're talking to yourself and talking to pins at some point, and you're just forced to sit in one spot. It is hard, but I felt like that was a beautiful moment at the end. So yeah, so the story is about that. Renaissance, writers, playwrights, competition.
Something rotten.
Self.
Welcome to the Renaissance. Something Rotten was written by Karey Kirkpatrick and Wayne Kirkpatrick, brothers.
Oh, cute. So no wonder.
Yeah, so then we have the brother storyline between Nick and Nigel Bottom. Book by Karey Kirkpatrick and John O'Farrell. They got John O'Farrell. He is from England and wrote the book with Karey Kirkpatrick. The brothers had the idea in the 1990s, and they joined with John sometime thereafter and presented a few songs and kind of a rough outline for their idea to producer Kevin McCollum. And I don't know if you recognize that name, but Kevin McCollum also produced 6. Yes. He was the one that brought 6 over to, like, I'm telling you. He also produced In the Heights and Rent.
Can we get Kevin on the phone?
I got some ideas. He is definitely, he's got a long resume of stuff he's produced for sure. And then in 2010, so keep in mind, they premiered on Broadway in 2015. They had the idea in the 90s. The 90s. So now we're in the early 2010s. So it's 2010, and they bring on Casey Nicholaw, who is a director choreographer. Casey Nicholaw started his career on Broadway in Crazy for You, and the last show he was in on Broadway was Thoroughly Modern Millie. Keep a hold of that, because I got a whole web back here of like little points. I'm gonna connect everybody in 2 seconds.
All right.
So Casey Nicholaw was dancing in Thoroughly Modern Millie, right? Decided to become a director choreographer. He did The Drowsy Chaperone, Book of Mormon, which he won a Tony for, Aladdin, Spamalot, Mean Girls, The Prom. So he's done a lot of different things as director choreographer.
Get him on the phone too.
Crazy. Get him on the phone. And the way he kind of talks about how he feels about directing and choreographing together is he's like, I spent a lot of time as an actor, and I feel like for me, it's easier to go through the script with the actors, find things that aren't working, and be able to still kind of be that liaison to the writers and be like, hey, this moment doesn't feel right, or this, that, the other. His choreography is amazing. It's so light and lovey. It's so exciting and energizing. There's like 5 tap numbers, which is
I was going to say, I need to learn tap.
I mean, if there was ever a show that made you want to learn tap, it was that one for sure. I've definitely seen some shows where it's like the tap is like, it's nice, but it also doesn't fit in the show.
Exactly.
And like, does tapping fit in the Renaissance? Not really, but it's fun.
No. But that's why I liked it, because it was quirky and offbeat, like tapping is, and so is the show. And it brought back I feel like tap is going away. And a part of me was like, oh, let's hold on to it. You're right. We got to hold on to tap.
Yeah. I love tap. I love a good tap number. I love a person who's really good at like hoofing, that can just do it. I love watching them work,
Mm-hmm.
Anyway. All right. So get ready for my web. Here comes my web.
I got her still.
So, right. Casey Nicholaw, director, choreographer for Book of Mormon, set designer. Scott Pask, he set designed Little Shop of Horrors, 9, The Band's Visit on Broadway, and Book of Mormon. So that's probably where they met. Right?
I see it.
Moving on, we have costume designer Greg Barnes. He won 2 Tonys, one for The Drowsy Chaperone, which Casey Nicholaw also directed, and Follies. He also worked on Kinky Boots and Aladdin and Mean Girls.
Connections.
So
There's connections.
We have
Are they friends?
And then get this. Stage manager Charles Underhill. Guess what he stage managed? Thoroughly Modern Millie. So isn't that not the most ultimate thing where you have a stage manager and an actor?
Yes.
And an actor who liked that stage manager so much, that actor then became a successful director choreographer and then offered that stage manager a job in his show. How cool is that?
That's amazing.
So that's kind of like, that's the big web that I have woven. That stage manager, Charles Underhill, also did Les Mis, Rocky, and had just been in Frozen, or was in Frozen, like doing Frozen for a bit. My lovely, lovely, lovely sound designer, Peter Hylenski, King Kong and Beetlejuice. He did the sound design for Beetlejuice. So see, like that's what's kind of fun sometimes when you look at these connected. Yeah. Everything's connected. And then not only that, but then like you bring your friends with you. Like if you have a good experience working with someone, you bring them on to your next team. You know? So we
talked about that in Hamilton, where it was that crew that brought each other through each other, and I love that kind of relationship. I love when we can carry our friendships on.
So Something Rotten that year was nominated for 10 Tony Awards. They won 1 Tony, and that went to actor Christian Borle for Best Featured Actor in a Musical. They were nominated for Best Musical, but they lost to Fun Home, which I get. Fun Home was good, but they were a whole lot of fun there. And Selena, now that you've seen Something Rotten,
yes,
what did you think of the number musical?
That number. I know I made a loud noise. I did it on purpose. Because that number, people, I mean, I was feeling it already. It already had me at the beginning. I was like, cool, this is different. And I'm a big proponent of doing something different. It's different. I haven't seen this premise before. I haven't seen this story. Okay, I'm already hooked. But then, when my favorite character, Thomas Notre Dame, began that song, it was one of the most brilliant songs I've ever heard in a musical, because it was a musical. and it was like, for example, we actually even said this, I know this one's a really weird tie-in. We kind of said this in our Christmas episode, because my favorite Christmas song is a song that ties in all of what it feels like for Christmas in one song. And I feel like that's exactly what this one did. Like, musicals gave you, yes, the actual, they did a lot of playing in with all these different musicals, putting them all in one song. And you kind of went on this journey throughout the whole song through musical history. But it also gave you the entire, what musicals mean and why we love them so much. And it's now my favorite song.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, it's such a great song because I'm like, it's the song of the moment. Like, what if I could ever say, if someone, and I know maybe you know too, Megan, that people come up to you all the time, why do you like musicals so much? Or why musicals? I don't get that. I don't understand the singing. And all I want to, now I can say, well, it's a musical, and they go into the song. And
more amazing than a musical.
Oh, it's like it's true, and then you can explain why you love it, and it knocked me off my feet. It was done, and I couldn't stop clapping. They were trying to move on with the show, and I was like, go back, and that's what they did. They even had a moment where, like, you know what, we need to come back and do the kick line, and I was like, yes, they know us.
So it's a 9-minute song. It
is 9 minutes.
It's 9 minutes. There are at least 20 references to musicals in that 9 minutes, which I think that there's probably even more. You could probably dig up more. And certainly in the entire show, Something Rotten, there's little references everywhere to some of Shakespeare's work and to other musicals.
Yes.
And they usually, in theaters, when this would happen, get a standing ovation after that number. So a mid-show standing O, which then, is really difficult to top in Act 2, right? So they did have some issues in Act 2 when they first premiered, that the audience kind of felt like Act 1 was so incredible that Act 2 really fell flat. So then when they were really reworking the making an omelet number, they had to really kind of step their game up and really make it more cohesive. And they did. And so they said that sometimes we would get a longer standing ovation after making an omelet than we did after musical. But I think...
I mean I actually, and I'm glad you mentioned that one, because I was with the same. I kind of felt like, wow, that was like the pinnacle. How are they going to top that song? That song was so amazing that, where else could you go? But I think they did a great job of, number one, building the excitement for Omelette. You know, like, especially with Thomas Notre Dame, and he's saying, oh yeah, and then he's adding all these musical references that have nothing to do with each other, and for me, it made me excited to see it. I was like, and I was actually more excited to see it than the rest of the show. It was weird. I was just like, okay, I just want to see this. They better not end the show without showing me Omelette, because I wanted to see where this all came to a head.
That is the worst, right? When they tease that they're making this thing for like the whole time, and then you don't see it. Like, they come off stage and they're like, and then you don't see it. And you're like, what? I want to see it.
I wanted to see that. You built all this tension on you, and then with, like I said, he's bringing in all these references. I'm like, how are they going to put all these references in a song and in a number? This is going to be so exciting. And I'm so glad that they did, because Omelette, and, me and Megan and our producer Kristen were just laughing about the fact that, backstage, that when they had to shoot off all the eggs and get into Omelette costumes, like how chaotic that would have been to seeing all these like eggshells in the backstage. Like, I gotta get in my omelet now.
There's some really amazing footage of people doing quick changes, so that way you understand like what costumers backstage go through and how synchronized and perfect it is. When it's like, this person has it, like it was in I'll have to show it to you. It's in The King and I revival, and she comes off stage, and this is right before she goes on stage for Shall We Dance. So she comes out and she comes off stage and she's in her like school marmy outfit, right, or something. And she has like 1 minute to change into her gown for Shall We Dance. And and they have the same thing for Beetlejuice. The Delia Dietz character goes backstage, puts on all this green makeup while they are putting this outfit on her. Has to do like lips, fit, do a different wig, all this kind of stuff. Go out, do one number, come back, take off the green makeup, take off the costume, and go back out for Delia Dietz. Like, it's absolutely incredible.
Insane.
And to see the eggs turn into omelets backstage, probably chaotic, but probably so like specific and succinct. Like, you stand here, you stand here, you stand here. Like, they probably had them all lined up, like step
and
out,
imagine how big is that crew. I wonder how big that crew is, that running crew for costume. It's pretty.
That's a very good point.
Probably pretty big. So let's give a homage to our running crews, costume running crew for quick changes.
Yes,
I did it once when we were in high school for Jekyll and Hyde, and I'll never do it again. It takes a special person.
It takes a person with a lot of patience and organization, that's for sure.
Yes.
So you'll like this story real quick, and then we'll get to actors, and you can tell me all about the different actors in the show, because you'll really enjoy this. So when the Kirkpatrick brothers were writing this song musical, one of the brothers' kids knew all about it, and they would ask about it, and they loved singing it, and his daughter said, wouldn't it be great if this song opened the Tonys? And he's like, well, let's like try to get it on Broadway first, and then let's think Small Potatoes first, and then we can start talking. Like, we have to be nominated.
Broadway Small Potatoes.
You know what I mean? Like, we would have to not only be on Broadway, but we'd have to be nominated for a Tony for them to even consider us performing, and especially being the opening number. Like, that's huge. And she's like, no, Dad, I can see it. I can see it. And he's like, sure enough, 3 years later, we were opening the Tonys with musical. And he was like, and not only that, but we were doing the Rockette kick line in Radio City Music Hall, where the Rockettes play. And he's like, it was the ultimate moment.
So she's a little Thomas Notre Dame.
She's a little Thomas Notre Dame. Tammy Notre Dame. So Selena, who are our fabulous actors in the original cast of Something Rotten.
So Brian Darcy James is the main character. And wow. He did a great job. He did a great job by playing someone where you could still have sympathy, though he's slightly a jerk. But again, like we talked about in Beetlejuice, I love when people are layered, and I love when it was another one of those, I just want it so bad that I'm willing to go a little bit naughty. Yeah. And the funny thing about it is that he was doing the exact same thing as William Shakespeare, who was played by Christian Borle, because both characters just wanted something so bad that they were willing to cross the line into naughtiness. But they couldn't stand each other, yet they were very, very similar. But what great acting. I mean, and that's, again, both of those characters and actors had the difficult task of not being stereotyped or not being just a jerk. Especially William Shakespeare, you had to still love him, and that was a very tricky part too. I mean, like as just going into theater, playing William Shakespeare, then making him slightly a jerk, but then going, no, you still love me. You do still love me, because I am William Shakespeare. We're in the theater. You still love me.
Yeah, he can't be totally a jerk, and I think it's great how they kind of played it off where he's not totally a jerk. He's still a likable guy, but it also resonates probably with the people in the audience who just say, like, I hate Shakespeare. I don't like Shakespeare.
Exactly.
I don't go see Shakespeare shows. See, that's why he's a jerk.
There's a whole song for that, just for you. It's a very true. Just for you. Because I know so many people who hate Shakespeare, and you can sing that song happily. But yeah, they both did such a fantastic job. I love the Shakespeare every time he came out. I thought that was hilarious. And because he was the rock star of that time. And so I love that they presented it that way. And they both still had great depth. Like I said, one of my favorite... Oh, before I get to him, I also really loved Heidi Blickenstaff because, oh my goodness, what a feminine role. Especially in this time, you know, like, you know, and that's the other tricky part that they had as writers is okay, where are you going to put the women? This is a very male-dominated time period, and it's a very male-dominated show, but you need women. And how do you put the women in without just making them the love interest or the one that's only concerned for their husband and the one that's, you know, like all the stereotypical woman roles in those time periods. So I think they did a brilliant job with her where she was that stereotypical role of I'm just the house, but she was like, I'm not just the housewife, because if you need help, I'm going to be there to support you. And I love that she even crossed, like, because, you know, back then a lot of and one background character was always in a dress as a male, which I thought was hilarious. And because that's what they did in Shakespearean times. It was the males who were playing females. So I love there was moments where she, as a female, was playing a male. And I thought that was a great juxtaposition. Like, oh yes, look, see, we can do it too. And that one song though, with her supporting her husband, and you know, let me be your right hand man. And I love it because at first he was fighting that man. And she was like, shut up. Basically, the whole song, shut up. No, you're not listening to me. You're not hearing what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, it's not about that.
It's not about
a team. And you can lean on me. It doesn't matter that I'm a woman. And I'm going to defy you anyway. You say, no, get a job. I'm going to do it anyway.
I'm going to get a job. And I'm going to be happy about it, even though it's poop. And so, and the same thing with, yes, the character played by Kate Reinders. The character's name is Portia. And that was a tough one, too, because you could easily go into the... and I could tell that the writers were trying to help with this. Like, you don't want it to go so wholesome that she's flat, you know? And the writers tried by making her a little bit naughty. A lot of her lines were sexual innuendos. Like, they could go both ways. Her and her dad, which was hilarious. Who was the Pilgrims, the Puritans at the time. So it was really funny that both of them always teetered on the naughty. They didn't go all the way, but they were always right on the line of naughty. And that, I think, helped with making her more than just the nice girl. And it really allowed her as a character to have all these dimensions and go into this. And I felt it in the beginning, this kind of fight between, okay, I don't necessarily want to be naughty, but I also want to just be human. I don't believe that I'm supposed to just be so holy that I'm not human like my dad, but I believe in both. And how am I going to combine these two holistically and, if you will, dare I say righteously, combining both, that human carnal side of us and that religious side that some of us have. So I thought she did a great job of it. I thought she still made it innocent. She still made it fun, which her character is supposed to be, along with Nigel Bottom, who was played by John Karey. Adorable. And Megan, is this the one who was also in Beetlejuice that you said? Or?
Yes, so he was in the workshop of Beetlejuice back in the Disney.
John Karey is so adorable. My God, my heart loves him. My heart loves him so much. And it's so funny because when I saw the workshop of when he was doing the workshop of Beetlejuice, I couldn't picture him as that character because the one who got it was so great, and I was like, I don't know if he would have really fit. But this role was like, it fit him like a glove. He had a great of that brooding young man, teenager, yet still strong because he's fighting for what he's believing in, and he's kind of like, in a sense, the moral compass. Because, like I said, you have, the two others, William Shakespeare and Nick Thomas, that are kind of like the teetering on naughty because they're evil a little bit. I mean, they want something so bad that they're willing to, be rude. While he was constantly the moral compass, and he was so innocent and so trustworthy to the point where it's almost frustrating. Where you just wanted to yell at me like, "No, stop giving him your stuff!" Like, stop it! Stop being so sweet. You need to know. But at the end, he does get some of that. He starts to stand up for what he believes in. And I loved seeing that. He was just such a great character and such a great actor. Yay. I liked him a lot.
And now your favorite character. My favorite.
Now to go to my last and favorite. I mean, there's many that I love. I love the Pilgrim. I mean, the Puritan dude. And he was great.
The ensemble was also fantastic.
The ensemble was fantastic. Even when they let the black chick go off in the church part.
Yes.
Amazing. I was like, you take it home.
This is the proponent that I feel like this is the conversation that has been going on in the theater industry for years. And they pointed to Beetlejuice and they pointed to Something Rotten when they were making their case for it. Was like, there needs to be a Best Ensemble award.
There really does.
There is no Best Ensemble award. And there really should be, because like they are working so hard and they are in every scene basically. And they are all working together so flawlessly that the tap numbers alone were so.
And you can't do it without them. Think of any show, you can't do it without them. And they add to the show. Like if you think of Hamilton, if you think of Something Rotten, if you think of Beetlejuice, they all add to the show. It's not even like they're just there in the background, being in the background. They're actually a part of the story, and they are essential. They are essential to the story, and they deserve it. I agree. They deserve an award.
I agree
because. They were amazing. But yes,
we believe in the ensemble award. Sorry, go ahead.
There's a way to do it. I know there's a lot of them, but there's a way to do it.
You give it to the show, and then each person gets a teeny tiny Tony.
It's a tiny one, and it's so cute.
Just a little baby Tony.
A baby Tony.
A little baby Tony.
They can do it. They can do it. They have the money. Stop it. You can do it.
They have the money.
Yes. They do. You could do it. Stop being lazy. Call the number you need to call and get it done.
Order one more statue and let's get this done.
Let's get it done. It needs to happen. As well as a award for best theatrical podcast. Okay, anyway, so Thomas Notre Dame was played by Brad Oscar is the one who played Thomas Notre Dame, and you already heard a lot of why I love him. But I mean, it's so funny. Actually, we were looking at the cast, and I was just looking at the faces, trying to find I was like, "Where's Thomas? Where's Thomas?" Because the one I was looking at didn't have their character names, and then when she finally said, "Oh, it's Brad Oscar," and I look and I'm like, "Whoa." He looks nothing like the character because and that's one of those and I don't know if he's method. He could be, but it's one of those situations where actors completely dive in 100% into their character because he was Thomas. And I love that character because everyone always, of course, harps on the mains. We love the last few people to bow, right? Because they're the mains, they're the great ones. They did all they carried the show, great. But I think there is something to a very strong supportive one too. And I don't think supportive actors get enough credit. Something like the ensemble, but this guy took this quite small role, though it has one of the biggest songs of the musical and all that, but he took a quite small role and he owned it so much so that I couldn't wait. Anytime Thomas was on this, if they brought Thomas, I was like, oh, he's back on. Oh, good. Like he was the highlight. He became the highlight of the show to me. And as an actor, that's I just want to commend him because it's not easy. It's not easy.
So I guess both him and Christian Borle were up for the Tony Award for Best Supporting Actor in a Role, and it went to Christian instead of him.
Which,
are you ready? Are you ready for a really awesome weave right now?
Yes. Okay. I'm ready.
I'm gonna weave Brad Oscar into your life right now.
Ooh,
Brad Oscar
gosh.
was in Jekyll and Hyde on Broadway. He played Sir Archibald Proops. Yes. He also, on Broadway, he earned a Tony nomination for being Franz Liebken in The Producers on Broadway. Which also then, like, the award went to someone else, unfortunately. But then he went from The Producers on Broadway, playing Franz Liebken, to playing Max Bialystock in The Producers in Las Vegas. At the Paris Hotel and Casino.
What year was this? Were we around?
2007. Were you around in 2007?
Yes. I was making my way out, but I was still there.
He was there at the same time, honey. Here it comes full circle. And then are you ready for this? This is gonna kill you.
Oh God.
So he then went on to do The Addams Family on Broadway, taking over the role of Uncle Fester from Kevin Chamberlain.
Oh my goodness. Kevin Chamberlain made it. We haven't had Kevin Chamberlain mentioned in a while. I've missed you, Kevin.
I've missed you, Kevin. So see, like, I think the theme of this episode is not only reviewing and celebrating the show that is Something Rotten, but showing how strangely and crazily theater can weave into our lives.
Yes.
And bring our friends with it.
Yes, it's true. Theater is connection above anything. Connection not only to the audience, not only to the roles and the characters, not only from the actors to the producers to the directors and the crew, but theater is a connection of human souls. But really.
Did you like Something Rotten? Would you go see it again?
Oh, I want to, okay. Megan, you have opened my mind to so many things, and I am definitely coming to New York, and we are definitely going to have the most exhausting, wonderful time ever, because I need to see so many shows in person. Being in Las Vegas kind of sucks. I mean, I'm in Reno. Being in Reno kind of sucks because we don't get like anything. And I miss live theater so bad. And so all these shows, we saw them, they're great on the mediums that we saw, but I need to see them live. I need that energy. I need that theater experience. So Something Rotten, I love, and I will 100% see it again. I'm listening to the soundtrack over and over again, especially musicals, because it's awesome.
And I do want to give you this as well, Selena. Book writer John O'Farrell did say he fought really hard to put in a reference to Oliver into the musical number. He fought really hard because he's a Brit, and it didn't happen. But he was able to get in Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat, and he settled for that. So I'm just letting you know.
I did notice that. But he fought for Oliver because he knows.
For Oliver.
He knows Oliver is special. I know a lot of people don't know Oliver and recognize Oliver and don't care about Oliver, but Oliver is special.
Ripe strawberries, ripe.
That's Megan's favorite line.
That's my favorite in all of Oliver. Anyway,
yes,
thank you
that was
for
great.
listening to another episode of One Hen, Two Ducks. Thank you for listening to our review episode of Something Rotten. Once these shows come back, go see them, support them.
Please.
Just have a ball, because that's the thing about Something Rotten is it's a great show for going to the theater and just going someplace different for a couple hours and just having a good time. Having a good time.
Good old-fashioned fun.
Good old-fashioned musical
fun, in the Renaissance.
Welcome to the Renaissance.
Do you like our Renaissance? I love it. I love you all. Make sure you like and subscribe. Of course, you all know this. I don't have to tell you, but I will. So, like and subscribe. Please, please, please. Going back to the English way of saying it, but please, like and subscribe. And we also have our Patreon, Megan.
Yes.
Please.
If you like what we're doing and you want to support us, please head over to our Patreon, Patreon.com/OneHen, and help us keep making these videos. Share this podcast with your friends. Help us keep making this podcast. Give us some stars. Give us some likes. Share it with your friends. I said it again, but I'm going to say it. I said it again.
We said it again. We keep saying it. And while Megan's talking, you don't see that I'm doing all this stuff, but that's what we're doing. We're doing all this stuff. So love you. Goodbye. Hope you enjoyed our episode. Go watch it in person if you can't when it happens. Because it's awesome.
And thank you to all the cast and creatives of Something Rotten. Yay!
Thank you, Something Rotten. You guys were awesome.